Hello everyone, this is FIDE Master Niranjan Navalgund for chess.com, and today I'm going to cover the game of the day. So I was spoiled for choice when I looked at the games, but ultimately I decided to go with this game played by our captain Vidit Gujrati. So there were a lot of high moments in this game and I find it very exciting. Before I go into the game, let's look into the player card of Vidit. He is currently India number 3 and is one of our star players. And I like the way he played in this game. To play a game like this requires a lot of confidence, and you will know what I mean as we go on into the game. This is played against Rasmus Swan from Germany. He's a grandmaster from Germany, and Vidit was black here. And his opponent played knight f3. Vidit played d5, g3, g6, bishop g2, bishop g7, d4, knight f6, castles and castles. So I'm going to take a pause here. In this position, Vidit has played a lot of games with both colors. And I remember in 2008, he was playing this knight e5 with the white pieces, which I also employ myself. I think you could consider trying this with white. It's a very interesting line. And in this position, Vidit is black and Vidit's opponent played c3. And this line is trending these days, to play slowly and not showing off the cards. So white is just maintaining the position and it's like a pass, and black has to show what he has got. And Vidit played knight bd7, he developed his knight, and on a4 Vidit played a5. And in this position, white played bishop f4, just developing the piece. Black played c6, white played queen b3. And there are some games played, around 3 to 4 games played, at least until here. And then after bishop f4, c6, queen b3, Vidit chose knight h5. This is very interesting. He wants to attack the bishop, and once this bishop goes, let's say, to e3 or d2, there is a chance to get e5. And that is the reason why white played bishop g5. So he doesn't want black to go e5. And after bishop g5, he played h6, and then after bishop e3, you can see that this bishop is keeping an eye on the b6 square. That's very important. And in this position, Vidit played e6. So he's maintaining the position, not really making any committal decisions. Now the whole game, at least for some time, revolves around this bishop. In order for this bishop to come out, it's still going to take a lot of time. But see how Vidit plays after this. White plays c4. And then black plays queen e7, white played queen c2. And now there is a possibility to play b6 and develop the bishop, but Vidit has an interesting plan in mind. He wants to put pressure on this c4 pawn, and see how he does it. He plays knight hf6, and then after rook d1, he goes knight e4. The idea is to get this knight to d6. Now you might ask, why is he making the moves with the same piece again and again? It's just that this position requires such kind of handling. So it's okay to play moves like this in this position, because the position is still not open and there is plenty of time. Because you can see that white has also not developed his b1 knight, and now he does it. Instead of going knight bd2 here, he goes knight fd2, because he wants this knight away from e4. And now Vidit decides to play knight d6. Remember that if you are considering pawn f5, then you must also consider the weakening of e5 square for future. So I think knight d6 is pretty simple, pretty good. And now the pawn on c4 is attacked. If white goes c5, then black has knight f5 in this position. So considering that, Rasmus, he exchanged and he played c takes d5, and now this relieves the position after all, because bishop on c8 now can hope to come out. You can see that Vidit played e takes d5, and after knight f3, black played knight f6, and after knight c3, Vidit finally gets to develop his bishop, and you can see that the rooks are connected. So remember this, if you are able to connect your rooks between 14 to 16 moves or even earlier, that's good. That means you have passed this opening stage, and Vidit does it very well here. And after queen c1, black goes king h7. Now when I looked at this position live, I remembered this game played by Debashish Das against Vaibhav Suri. If you Google it, you will get this game. In that game also, Debashish being black, he employed a similar strategy and he went g5, h5 in that game. So the structure is very similar. Now in this position, after bishop f4, black went knight d4. Now after knight d4, black is having a threat. Vidit is threatening to play knight takes c3 and then get this pawn on e2. So to block that path, to block that line, white played bishop e5. And now you see this e2 point that is now defended, but you see Vidit goes knight g4 to kick this bishop away. Now once these bishops are exchanged, the e line is again open. And plus after knight g4, you are also attacking f2. So Vidit is keeping the tension going. He is creating as many problems as possible for his opponent. And after bishop into g7, king into g7, Vidit's opponent played rook f1. And now in this position, Vidit played knight takes c3. He spent about half a minute to play this move because after knight c3, bc3, there is a big decision here. You can play simply a move like rook e8 or knight f6 or just get this rook into the game, but Vidit chose queen takes e2, which is a difficult decision because after queen takes e2, I'm sure he must have considered that after this, white is the one who is going to get some attack going on the king side. But Vidit was ready for it. After queen takes e2, you see first his opponent attacks with the knight on g4 with h3. And after knight f6, white plays knight e5. Now this queen on e2 has not got so much flexibility. It's there, but it's not really able to do much. And it has to drop back, as you can see. That's what happened in the game. After knight e5, Vidit played knight e4. He thought that if the rook goes, then there is always queen takes f2. So he's saying that I won't let this rook f1, the rook on f1 to move, but Vidit's opponent played rook a b1. Now this b7 is attacked. So here, if you get knight d6, then he has rook b2, and then the queen has to move again. So considering this, Vidit immediately decided to come back with his queen, and he played queen to a6. And as I mentioned a few moments before, white went aggressive. He has got this initiative now on the king side after g4, bishop e6, and then he plays queen to e3. Now the knight is attacked, but he can't really take this knight because strategically then black will be having a good position. For example, after rook f8, that's what happened in the game, Rasmus Swan did not take on e4 with his knight. He played f4. Now if he takes this knight, remember this bishop is a bishop that guards the king, and if you give away, then it's likely that white might get into a lot of problems. So that is the reason why you should be very careful when you're making moves like this. And after rook e8, white went for f4, and I think this is a very critical position. Take a moment and think for yourself what you would do as black. Okay, so now I'm going to reveal the move. When I was considering this position for the first time, I was thinking of f5 because that comes naturally, right? Your opponent is coming forward, you block his path, you play f5. But f5 in this position is a mistake because white has bishop takes knight, and if you take fe4, then white's pawn march will just finish the game. I think white is clearly winning here after f5. The king is the deciding factor. You can see that there is nobody on the king side to defend the king. There is no piece. So if you take d takes e4 and say that okay, everything is blocked, white has this amazing move. Okay, I'm going to reveal it. It's d5. It's clearing the queen's path, and after queen d4, like for example after bishop d5, white has rook b6 and then queen d4. This position is dangerous. So after, let's say, king h7, he can go knight d7. So things like that. So that's the reason why Vidit played f6. He played it knowing that white could go knight d6. This is what I appreciate. Like, he made the right decision here to not play f5. He played f6. And after f6, white played knight g6. And the thing is, you have to take this knight. Even if you don't take it, it will still be a piece that will possibly bother black for a long time to come. So if you go bishop f7, white has f5. So Vidit decided to take the knight. After king g6, bishop takes e4, d takes e4, f5 check, king g7, f e6, rook e6. Now in this position, white has an initiative, but you can see how he is very precise with his moves. And after rook f5, rook f8, rook h5, rook h8, c4, there is no immediate blow here, but there will come a time. I'll show you where white could have done something better. Now you cannot take this pawn because the b7 pawn is hanging. So what Vidit does is he defends this pawn with rook e7, and now he's saying I'm going to take this pawn on c4. And then with white played rook c5 defending this pawn, and now Vidit realizes that this queen is not really doing anything, and he decides maybe something like this could help. So he plays queen a7, and after rook f1 he immediately realizes the drawback of this move. The drawback is that now the b6 square is vacant and he goes queen b6. And I think it is this position in which white had an interesting line. He could have played pawn to g5 instead of rook cf5. I think g5 could have been interesting because the pawn on f6 is attacked, and if you take ng5, then white has this amazing move rook takes g5 check. And if black takes the rook, then white has queen takes g5 and the rook is lost. And it's not just the rook but even the game. After queen takes e7, king g6, there will be a mate which will soon follow. So after g5, at g5, rook g5, black has to make this cool move king f7, and after that white has this spectacular move rook takes f6, because after if black plays king takes f6, then there is queen f4 check, king e6, queen f5 check, king d6 and c5. So this fork will decide the game. So after g5, fg5, rook g5, king f7, rook f6, black has to be super cool and play king e8. This position is interesting. The evaluation is balanced, but it also makes for a very good training game. You can keep this position and play with your friend or a computer. It will be fun, I am sure. It would have been interesting to see what Vidit had in mind. Would he make a move king f7? It would have been interesting to see this. But in the game, white played rook to f5, and now he goes rook d8, because again the drawback of moving to f5 is that the d4 pawn is now open for attack. So remember this, top players often focus on the drawbacks of opponent's last move. And after rook d8, rook c5, queen b2. So what if you can block me here? I will go to b2 and then attack this pawn. So I think these were all very precise moves played by Vidit. And after d5, cd5, cd5, queen e5. Now the queen really joins the game. It was not doing much on a6, but was just keeping an eye on those pawns. But now the queen has really come to black's rescue. And after rook f5, queen a1 check, rook f1, queen e5. Vidit was now ready for a draw here. After all that pressure, I think it makes sense in this position to take a draw, but Vidit's opponent decided to play on for a win. After rook f5, queen a1, king g2, queen b2 check, king g3, Vidit played queen b6, and after king f2, queen d6, king g2, rook e5. You see, he challenges the rook because the rook on f5 could be dangerous. It could come to h5. So exchanging your opponent's active pieces is a good strategy. And after rook takes e5, queen takes e5, white played rook b5, attacking this pawn. Black played rook d7, and white played h4. And now you see Vidit silently plays rook to c7, and he wants to go to c3, he wants to go to c2. And here Vidit's opponent played king h3, falling for the trap. Can you spot the move that Vidit played? Yes, it's easy. He played rook to c3. The point being the queen cannot move, and on rook into b7, the king simply walks and approaches the king. For example, he played king f8, rook b8 check, king e7, rook b7 check, king d8, rook b8 check, and king c7. You can see that there is no defense, the queen is lost, and so is the game. So despite so much pressure in the game, Vidit maintained his composure and played some precise moves in time trouble. Also, when you're playing a game with a shorter time control, defending your king is slightly difficult, and the way Vidit managed tells a lot about his strength. And kudos to Team India, kudos to Vidit. They are now through and they will be playing the quarterfinals on 28th. So that's a great thing for India. I hope you liked my presentation of the game of the day, and I'll be back soon. See you. Bye.